Hey, what's up, guys? I want to talk to you really quickly here about sort of what my long-term transfer strategy is. So I'll show you, first of all, what the problem is, right? We're here in the UEFA Europa Conference League. The problem that we have is that we need to get more players who are trained in China for 3 years between their 15th and 21st birthdays, and we need to actually have players who were trained at the squad at Yenbian FC for 3 years between their 15th and 21st birthdays. We need to have at least 4 of them. It's similar for the Champions League in the game as well. In our case, we have 0, and the reason why is because I sold them because they weren't good enough, right? So that's a problem, right? Because at some point in time in the future, we're going to have to take this seriously. Like, if we lose this competition right now, and you've already known if we've won or lost, by the way, because I'm filming this a couple days in advance. If it turns out that we're kicked out here in our very first match, which is coming up, I mean, too bad, so sad, right? Like, it's not really the end of the world. We have a lot more matches to play. We're not even in the China Super League yet. So, I mean, I think it's at least somewhat understandable. However, we want to set ourselves up for success in the future. And the only way to do that is to create a transfer strategy that focuses on doing this sort of thing. And so that's the reason why I kind of do what I do. So what I'm about to show you is going to look a little bit extreme, right? This is our under-19 squad, and I have to wait a second because we have so many players in the squad that it's like insane. I'm actually going to filter out players that are way on loan. We have no players in on loan. I don't really like to bring players in on loan for any reason, anywhere, at any time. And so you can see that a whole bunch of these are available for the under-19s. How do I get rid of whatever? Anyway, whatever. Ignore everybody who is 21 and over. The way that I tend to do this is all of these guys, I need to go back through and clean this up, but everybody who's over 17 should be over on the under 21 squad. And I can see there are a couple of stragglers, so I haven't put over quite yet. The idea here is that our under 19 players are all going to be like under 17, so like 16 and under. And as you can see, we have like a billion of these players. We have so many of them. And what I've been doing is I've been having my scouts go out and look at every player who's young. I'll even show you. I went and looked at every new gen that was created in China. This is the wrong thing. We want to look at scout priorities. There we go. And I've just had the scouts go out and look at them and say, okay, I want you guys to go out and look at these players. You can see they're all 15, 16, 15, 16, 15, 16, and they come back and report, and that's the only thing that our scouts are doing right now. That's all they've done all summer. It's the only thing I care about right now. The reason why is because we have a strong enough first team probably to win the China Super League right now, but that's not what I care about. You can see some of these are foreigners, so whatever. These are the guys from the next gen list. We'll look at them as well because it might be good to know who the good young players are in the future. But aside from that, I want to know 100% who the best Chinese young players are. If I can get them now, if they are willing to come to our team, I'm going to get them right now. If I can't, I have a short list I call Wonder Kids. You can see this includes a lot of foreigners and stuff like that, but we have guys like this Gao Guocai. He's not interested in coming to our club at all right now. 17 years old, young center back. We keep him on here. He's fairly professional. He's going to be a great player. We keep him on here for when his contract is up so that I can try to poach him, right? And if his contract's not up, but we are promoted to that level, I can just go and buy him, right? That's the whole idea behind this. We want to try to get as many of these young players as we can to our club as quickly as possible, right? In this particular case, we'll be lucky if we get him when he's 18. And you have, 18, 19, 20, 21. So, he could barely fit into those requirements. But, I mean, I don't know. The whole idea here is that we want to get those players on this club as quickly as possible, and then we want to look through them all time and time again, find the ones that are actually good, and push them up as quickly as possible to the first team squad. So if you come over here to my first team squad right now, what you'll notice is that I have, in addition to a bunch of players who really belong, I have a bunch of players who look like they don't belong. Ding Yuchi, Shui Xiaopeng, Li Min, Liang Xianjun, Yan Dawei, and so on and so forth. The way that I set this up is I went over to the squad planner and I said, okay, I want to take a look and see, what is it that the computer recommends for one of these defensive midfielder positions, right? And so I take the top 4 foreign players and the top 2 foreign players for each position. These are both the same, so we have the top 4. And I combine them with 2 young Chinese players who I want to develop. Right, it's going to say unregistered here. It's because he's not registered for the UEFA Conference League. But when it comes to the actual league matches, we can register them. I'll show you here. This is a little bit, so this strategy is a little bit peculiar just to what the rules are here. We can have a maximum of 24 players and a maximum squad size of 50 players. And we cannot have non-Chinese goalies. So the goalies are all taken care of. We have 3 of them. You can see them up there at the top. You could see them before I clicked the wrong thing. We have 3 Chinese goalies. And then everywhere else, I think, okay, we have 10 other positions. So we'll have 2 foreigners per position. And then I want at least 1 Chinese player per position. This is in part because the rules when we're playing is that we have to have, I think it's at least 3 Chinese players on the pitch at any one time. This way we can actually do that and swap players in and out and give guys the time that they need to actually develop into something if they'll become something. And so as a result, again, goalkeeper is probably not the right way to look at this, but when we look at everything else, like say a left back, we have this guy Liang Xianjun, who is the left back. He is 16 years old, professional personality. You know me, I love the professional personality, right? So of course I'm going to give this guy some playing time. And I mean, I don't know if he's actually good enough for this level yet or not. It says he's probably not quite good enough, operating at a second division level. Whatever. That's the equivalent to like your star ratings, right? He's a young prospect way off of first team level, but he's doing well in training. I want to give him game time because I know that if he has game time, that is probably most likely going to be the thing that helps him develop the most, right? He's professional. He will train well. We know about all that because of Evidence-Based Football Manager, but what we need to keep in mind as well is that at some point in time, he does need to play on the team. I'm going to have a Chinese guy play here anyway. I'd rather have the 16-year-old play here than some like 26-year-old guy who has problems or who doesn't like big matches or who's inconsistent or whatever. Did the same thing here, so I don't know why Wang Tong is showing up because I was trying to put him over to North Korea. That's another story. And Lotso is actually going to play center back, right? We have Abrefa, Pak Myung-sung, and then Yen Dawei. And Yen Dawei is another one of these guys. He's 16 years old. He's only got a balanced personality, right? And he still technically is not good enough at this level, but he's got 1.1 million estimated value, and I figure, well, let's give this guy a chance. Somebody out there thinks that he's a good player. People think that he has a lot of potential, so we're going to put him on up front. Now, as you've seen here, when I click through here, like anytime you have anything happening with anybody, these players like come up and show up out of nowhere. That one was actually in the wrong order. You look at like my strikers, right? Ru Kang-guk just showed up. I was trying to, I don't know what I did with him. I like renewed his contract or something, and like he showed up all of a sudden in the squad planner. Now, if I go over and ask assistant for this position, he's going to give me like 20 players because I have so many players on the squad. It does that all the time. He'll tell me like, oh, what about this guy who's out on loan? Well, I'm not going to take the guy back in when he's out on loan. I mean, that's stupid, you know? So instead of like doing this the whole way, what I do is I keep a squad planner on my own. And literally what I've done is I have written this out here so that I can keep track of it so that I know who is where. I know that I need to have 2 defensive midfielders and 2 center backs and 2 strikers, right, for every time I have it or every game that we have. And you can see at the very end here, I always have a Chinese player. Now, Miguel Sandberg, by the way, I think I showed him to you a couple of weeks ago. This guy is actually Taiwanese Swedish, which is really interesting. Of course, I want him on the first team squad. I mean, this guy's a great story. This is really interesting, right? We want to talk more about players like that, right? Anyway, the reason why we do things this way is because we want to do everything within our power to take these Chinese players, including guys like Cheng Bingbin or whoever. We want to give them game time. We want to try to develop them so that eventually when we're talking like 2 years from now in game and we're looking at the Champions League, we want to see, instead of having some 16-year-old Yen Dawei down here, we want him to be like up here, right? I don't know, maybe Pak Myung-sung is still around then, probably not, right? We want to have Abrefa and probably Yen Dawei and probably another Chinese guy, right? Same thing for center back, right? So we know the Yen Kun is pretty good, but guys like this Chen Jun guy, he's never been tried before, right? 15 years old. We have him there instead of Shi Jiayang, who is back on the under-19s, because this guy looks like he's probably a little bit better, though he's a little bit shorter, right? So, okay, well, let's put him up there. Let's see what he can do. Let's give him some game time and some first-team exposure. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's not a big deal. If it does work, though, maybe Yenkun and Chen Jun end up moving up to like the top of this list somewhere, right? And then we have more homegrown players. Then we have players who were very, very young, who actually have experience here at the squad and who are able then to help us fulfill those requirements for the Champions League. Anyway, that is sort of like the long-term strategy here that I have for doing these transfers and for picking these guys up. Now, I'll tell you that the board hates me for doing this, right? And you have to, especially if you're doing a hardcore mode, you're not looking at any stupid, star ratings and all this other garbage, right? You don't know exactly how it is that the players are going to be and what the fans are going to think. So when I look at transfers, okay, we're not going to look at the loans. When I look at the transfers, I have like a whole ton of these where like the, where the fans just absolutely are upset and really, really mad because, this player is never going to be good enough. That one's never going to be good enough. The board doesn't care because they're like, okay, the guy cost us nothing and his wages are really low. But the fans are just like, oh no, this guy, this Songhan guy, right? Whatever, who's 16. Oh, he'll never be good enough, right? This guy is awful. How could he be on our team? Just ignore it, man. Totally ignore it. These fans don't know what they're talking about. They want me to go over and sign, Erling Haaland and guys like that, right? We're not going to be able to. We know that we're not going to be able to. So what we want to do is we want to try to sign as many young Chinese players as we can. If I don't know how many guys are on the squad, right? But if, let's say I have like 150 of these guys developing, chances are that like one or two of them is going to end up being really good, right? Right now, when I look here at my development center, it's telling me that that's an average squad. Maybe it's average, maybe it's not. I really don't care. A lot of these ones to watch players are players who I'm never going to play anyway because they have problems with things like consistency. That's the reason why I flagged them, right? And so I keep an eye on them. I see that they're developing. The plan with guys like Amat Jung is to loan him out the moment he turns 17, right? Just like I was trying to get Shenli loaned out as soon as he turned 17, right? Because of this big inconsistency. Yeah, he has talent, right? I know he has talent. Great. Let somebody else worry about his inconsistency. They can pay us for the privilege of developing him. Absolutely, right? Keep him in country and then we sell him off. And then instead we have a guy who's not inconsistent, who's here on the team, who's really young, who we put in the first team squad and give some game time to. Anyway, there you have it. That's sort of what the idea is behind all of this. As you can see, we have a whole ton of players like in all sorts of different parts of the squad. A lot of these guys, as soon as they hit the under 21s, I put them up for loan. Maybe they're going to be loaned out. Maybe they're not. I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But we keep pushing and pushing because we hope that in the end we can go over, make a really, really like low dollar amount deal for these guys. The ones that are really good then hopefully can move up to the top. And the ones that are not so good that we look at and we're like, okay, I'm probably not going to play this guy at all in the future. Well, we'll let them kind of sink to the bottom, right? And we'll let other teams pay for them. And if we're lucky, we loan them out, the other teams play them, and then somebody comes along and says, oh, you have a great player, I'll pay you however many million, and then it's not my problem anymore, and then we have more money. Anyway, there you go. That's my long-term transfer strategy. Hope you have a good day. Bye.